You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
All right. Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, and review. This is a special show. We're in the green room at the Brea Improv with my guest, the great Jimmy Shin. Jimmy, who has a stand-up special on Amazon Prime called Walk of Shame, W-O-K. And he's a fellow comedian who I just had the pleasure of working with this weekend. And apparently, you've been doing it for 15 years as well.
15 years.
And it's our first time crossing paths.
Yeah, which is kind of a weird thing, right?
Yeah, because I find it's very hard, like when I meet people who've been doing it at the same time, it's like, I've heard of you, but I've never crossed your path.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first met you, I thought you were a Rex Nevaventi.
Yeah, you thought I was Filipino, which is the wrong race. I'm Korean. Yeah, no, that made me like you a lot.
Really?
From the gate.
Oh, yeah, because I thought at first, like, it was I don't know, I thought you wanted to punch me. I was like, holy Lord. So, Jimmy, how's it going? You doing good? You're on this straight out rehab tour with Jay Moore. So tell us, how did you get connected on that?
Just met Jay actually prior to him getting sober, and we were doing shows together. And then after he got sober, we were hanging out, going to meetings and stuff, working the program. And he asked me to do this show, the Brea Improv, and I couldn't say no to that because this is such a great venue.
Was this your first time at this venue?
No, I've been here before, but first time since the pandemic, though.
Right.
Yeah.
I meant, like, because this is new. This is like 2 years new. It used to be across the street.
Yeah. No, I've been to the new one.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
No. Which one do you like better?
I don't think I've been to the old one, so I couldn't really compare. Just the new one.
Oh, yeah. The old one was like maybe 360, but it was really intimate. Like I like crowds that are just crunched in. This one's like theatery, which is still great.
Yeah.
But so what was your tell the folks at home if you don't want to talk about it, I totally get it. But what was how do you get into drugs, and what was your path like to say, hey, listen, I gotta stop doing this?
Well, yeah, I tell jokes about it, but when I was a kid, about 12 years old, my parents owned a convenience store, which probably shouldn't be a surprise since I'm Korean.
Right.
And they used to have liquor there and sell liquor. And so I remember being 12 years old stealing liquor from there.
From your own parents?
Yeah.
Holy Lord.
And so you would be surprised how fast I became the cool kid at school.
Yeah.
Because I was a kid with alcohol. The same guys who would say racial slurs like Ching Chong Chinaman would be like, "What's up, Jimmy? Where the party's at, man?" And like literally overnight, I became like the Asian sensation.
So you became Mr. Popular.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was my route, to being the cool kid, having lots of friends, getting girls. And so I started at a very young age.
So your first drug of choice was alcohol.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
And my mom is a recovering alcoholic, so to be honest, I've probably only tasted alcohol maybe 10 times my entire life. So it's never really gotten, and I think maybe because I grew up with my mom just being sickly on the couch, I've never been turned on to it. You know what I mean? So I was thinking, is that something do you think that's something for most people who have addicts in their family to?
Actually, no. It turned you away, and I remember my dad was also an alcoholic. He's now got about 30 years sober, but he was also an alcoholic. I remember thinking as a kid, I would never be like him, that I would never get into drinking and all that, because he caused so much devastation in our family. But if you got it, you got it. It's the ism, it's a disease. It's a sickness. Yeah. And if you got it, even if you want to avoid it, you probably, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you might not have the gene for alcoholism. Just because your parent has the gene doesn't mean that you do.
I think a lot of people with Asperger's don't drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why. Because, I do take Xanax, but I don't I don't do it to get high. I do it to just socialize and stay calm.
See, that alone tells me you're not an addict.
Yeah.
Because I can't take even Xanax like a gentleman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I will take the whole prescription.
I remember I took one yesterday, and you're like, "What's that?" Like
Yeah.
you were all worried for me.
Well, I wasn't worried. I got triggered, bro. I almost wanted to fucking snag it out of your hand like a pebble from fucking Kung Fu. And fucking just take it, you know. But no, it doesn't affect me. But it still does. Like, what is that? You know, like whenever someone takes a pill, it interests me because I was a pill head for a while too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was your?
I was into opiates. You know, started with Vicodin, and then ended up with oxys. Then I was a Xanimal for a while. For those of you at home that don't know what that is, that's someone who takes just copious amounts of Xanax. Like, I remember taking like 3-4 bars at a time.
Yeah.
And I would eat them like candy. And then you'd just black out, and you'd end up having a good night, you think, you know, but you could end up naked in the bush too.
Right. And that's not so much good because you get bushes on your butt.
Yeah. You get like all kinds of prickly stuff going up your butt.
Yeah. So when you decided to get sober, because I don't know much about you. What did you do before comedy? You know, like
Before comedy, believe it or not, I went to law school.
Law school.
And it wasn't my dream, it was my dad's dream. Mm-hmm. And I remember as a kid, my dad had a vision board on the wall, and it said, Jimmy Shin, attorney at law. And it had even the little legal scales that you see on business cards.
Right.
And so I'm all for vision boards, but it has to be your vision board.
Right.
And so I remember waking up and looking at the vision board and going, one day I'm going to be an attorney. And it fucking worked. I somehow got my way through school, got my way through law school. And but the crazy part is while I was in law school, I was also escaping still. And my drugs escalated, or my drug addiction and drug selling, and I ended up getting busted.
You sold drugs?
I sold drugs too.
Wow.
Yeah, for me it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
That's
pretty gnarly.
Yeah, well back then it was weed, but I got caught with pounds of weed, but it was a felony back then.
Right.
And I got caught with like 1.5 pounds, and I remember, going to jail. You know, and then my dad found out, through a letter in the fucking mail. It was like a court letter.
Wow.
And it was just maybe one of the worst. To be honest, going to jail wasn't as bad as like my parents finding out. Right. Because they thought I was this guy who had this bright future, this studious law student. Yeah. And it was a very, very tough time for myself and my family.
And you say like 1 pound of weed, which if that happened nowadays, I don't think you would get jail. You might like get a slap on the. I don't think it's as serious as it is now than it was back then. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
right now it's legal.
Yeah.
And it was in the state of California.
Yeah. Like I'm friends with Andy Dick, and Andy always says, "I can't wait to get arrested so I can see guys." Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, he might actually like it in jail.
So now are you a lawyer now, or did you?
Well, I got my law degree, but while I was on probation, I found stand-up because I was selling cars. I was living at my parents' house in my old room, bedroom, and the vision board was still up there, and I was super depressed. And my friend invited me to an open mic, and I went to that open mic, and there was a lot of shitty comics there.
Right.
And I remember thinking, I could do better than this.
Or I could stay on that same level, shitty.
Yeah, at least be shitty. I knew that. I knew I would at least hit the requirement of shitty.
Yeah.
And so, I got my, best 5 minutes of material together, which was mostly dick jokes and really hacky one-liners, and then went up there the following week.
Do you think that I think it's pretty normal for a lot of new comics to start off with dick jokes or hacky material, and I'm not saying like they stole it; they probably wrote something similar, but probably like
Oh, yeah.
pitched it up. Do you think that's normal for a lot of newcomer comics?
I do, because just like music, first you got to play cover music.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anyone picks up the guitar and just starts writing fucking great music.
Right.
You know what I mean? First they cover the Rolling Stones, or they cover, you know, Led Zeppelin or something. You know what I mean? And then they might write some of their own songs, right?
Yeah. Where do you start in comedy though?
What do you mean?
Like, was it in Los Angeles?
No, it was in Tacoma, Washington, where I
Oh,
grew
Washington.
up, where my parents still live. And,
How far is that from Seattle?
About an hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it's a good scene then.
Yeah, it was a great scene. It's more urban.
Yeah.
And so it was a great place to develop as a comedian. And in fact, I'm very grateful that I developed outside of LA, you know,
Yeah.
in Tacoma, because it was a great place.
That's probably like, I think that's probably one of the Jay Moore's dogs snoring. If you guys can hear that in the.
It's the cutest dog, too.
Oh my god! Like I have a beagle, and my beagle's cute, but I kind of want to get rid of it for Jay's dog. You know?
Gonna trade it in.
You ever see like something you're like, oh, I love my dog, and then you see someone else's dog, you're like, my dog fucking sucks.
I felt like that with my parents.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say is, I think like that's fascinating when comics don't start in LA and then they move to LA.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of helps because you see, like Seattle, Washington, you know, I've been there, you know what I mean? I've done shows there. It seems that it's a very supportive, like audiences are there to laugh. When in LA, it's all about who do you know, how many followers do you have, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I think you could really grow outside of LA. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree.
Yeah, I disagree.
I disagree with you heavily. No, I agree with that.
And then you also produce your own shows too.
Yeah, I produced the Shindig show. I started in at the Comedy Store, and this was before the big boom happened, you know,
Before Tommy Morris got canned.
well, actually right after he got canned.
Yeah,
and then Adam started. That's when I started.
That's the
It's 7
Comedy
years
Store
ago.
boom, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Comedy Store just boomed after that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I was right in the middle of it, thankfully.
So what gave you that idea to do a show, like to produce your own show? Were you having a trouble getting booked, and you thought,
Yeah. I think we all start because we want spots, right? And then, and to trade spots. But I also
trade
knew,
spots? What do you mean?
like, you know, if you have your own show, you can book other comedians who also have their own shows.
Oh,
And
okay,
then
and
you
then-
can trade
okay.
a spot. You
All
know,
right,
like
right.
I'll book you for my show and you book me for yours, right?
Okay.
So, but I also knew that I had a gift for promoting.
Yeah.
Like I was a club promoter during my using days up in Seattle, and some of the biggest clubs up there. And so I knew how to, you know, sort of hype up a club or a night or a show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then when did you start getting like these friendships with? Because I know you told me before you're friends with Bill Burr, and you said like a lot of comics have done guest sets on your show. Like, how did you establish that?
Well, I guess that's the biggest benefit of being at the Comedy Store is
Right.
you got the biggest comedians in the world asking you for spots. Like I would, if I showed you like my text threads, it
Which
would
you
be
have
like
the coolest phone. by
Oh,
the
thank
way.
you. Yeah, it's the new Samsung Flip.
Yeah.
Samsung, give me some money. Plug in your phone. But yeah, no, this is a very cool phone.
I think it's cool because it has a keychain.
Yeah. Well, this is just the casing.
Oh,
It doesn't come like that, but I have that just in case you drop it or something, and you can also like hold it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, this isn't about the phone, is it? Samsung should seriously give us both money
Yeah.
because you talked more about this phone than you did about my comedy life.
No. So, so you're doing shows at the Comedy Store. People are hitting you up for spots.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah, so you just meet everyone, you know, and you build relationships. And fortunately, I was sober and didn't fuck anything up or burn any bridges or fuck anyone over. And so I'm still friends with all of them. They still do shows with me, and I've went on, you know, tour with different people, and
Yeah.
you know,
Who
just
are-
been lucky.
Who are some of the guys you've gone on the road with?
Daryl Hammond.
Daryl Hammond.
It's SNL.
SNL.
Road gigs. Who else?
Do you think road gigs? Shang.
Yeah, do you know Shang?
I know Shang. My manager is Shang's manager.
Oh, okay.
And I could probably get canceled, but whatever. So like Shang is my manager, is one of his biggest clients or whatever, right? And he's like, why can't you be more like Shang or whatever? And I'm all like, that's not really my type of humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I go to the path of, because how I got, I toured with Norm Macdonald and I toured with Jay. I toured with Jeremy Hotz. I toured with people who are very humble. And it's not really not the business side, it's just about making people laugh. So that's what I care about. You know what I mean? But like Shane's always promoting and stuff. It's like I try my hardest to do it, but that's just not one of my gifts.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think if you're a new comic out there, you have to really leverage your gifts and know what they are.
Yeah, you gotta stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. That's what I did, as I looked at what my strengths were, and I just really pivoted those.
Yeah. And then you were also on The Tonight Show.
I was on The Tonight Show.
I
You did some research.
Of course I did. Because I hit you up on the Facebook randomly.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, Jimmy, you want to do a podcast? I seriously thought you were going to say no.
Why?
I don't know. I just felt like, I don't think this guy likes me. But I was like, but I want you to know I was very intrigued by you because I think you're a very nice guy.
Oh, thanks, man.
You know what I mean? So I was like, what? I would love to talk to him. So thank you for saying yes. But yeah, I thought you were going to say no.
Okay. Should have said no to prove your own point, but.
But The Tonight Show, how was that? Like, how did you get that?
Back then I had an agent, and it was during Jay Leno. This was like 3-4 years ago, or maybe not 5 years ago. Fuck, the pandemic just made me like lose all track of time. Can you curse on this?
Yeah. Okay. Say whatever you want, man.
So I played Kim Jong-un
Right.
on a couple episodes, and then they fucking loved me there. I don't know what it was, but I was just doing their lines and everything. And then they started looking me up on YouTube, seeing what else I had done. And then they saw my stand-up, and they were like, fucking come do stand-up.
Yeah.
And so I ended up doing stand-up, and Jay came over to me and, and said I was very funny, and it was just like, surreal,
He's getting applauses. Should we pause to see how he's doing? No, he's doing good. Okay, so I'm sorry, this is for the folks.
We have time.
Yeah, we got good time. Okay, so Jay said you were great. Was Jay like your Carson?
Jay was like my Carson, yeah. But except that during Carson, if you did the Tonight Show, it could make your whole career.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's like barely, it's a credit.
Yeah.
It's just another credit, and it doesn't really make your career. Like I get more people from, like, that know me through doing, a podcast sometimes than, you know what I mean?
Podcast is like that. That's the thing that I think a lot of, because I don't just interview comedians, I interview like authors and actors and stuff. I think a lot of people don't realize how powerful a podcast is because it'll always be there. You might not get the listeners immediately, but it'll always be there forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I think like they're very helpful in our field.
Oh yeah. Well, it's the new way to interview people. I think it's the best way.
And
so
it's not,
far.
It's not just 8 minutes where it's 30 to 45 minutes. You can actually know the artist and know their beliefs and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I like it.
Yeah.
But so have you ever thought about starting your own podcast?
I actually have one. It's called Second Chances.
Second Chance.
So you didn't really do that thorough research.
No.
Yeah, it's called Second Chances. It's sort of a recovery podcast, but it's just people that have second chances at life. Mm-hmm. It can be cancer people, and we've had everyone from Margaret Cho to Daryl Hammond to just everybody.
Now, since I didn't do my research, do you interview these people, or how is your podcast?
Yeah, we do an interview. I do the podcast with Greg Baldwin, and we both.
Greg Baldwin.
Yeah. So we just, you know him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in Jay's rotation too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we.
I thought he toured with Hammond.
He does with Hammond as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We are all sort of incestuous that way, I guess.
Yeah.
We're all, working together. Another reason is, we're all sober.
Yeah.
So it's, sometimes nice to do it with people that are sober.
It's great that you're sober, but did you do comedy when you weren't sober?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so explain like the differences. Like, do you feel more accomplished now as an artist? Because I know like a lot of comics do drugs to feel accomplished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it was like a crutch,
right.
So it would just give me that courage. And, I thought it made me funnier because it gave me no sort of filter,
right.
But also it could make it into a train wreck.
Yeah.
It could go either way. Either you're going to absolutely kill because you just went unfiltered and it worked, or you went off the rails and fucking nobody can understand you and you're just talking gibberish and you think you killed,
Well, one of my favorite comics was Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
And he died the year I started, and I remember I met him briefly, very briefly. And I thought like, oh, this guy's like very quiet. I would never could tell he had a heroin problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had a big time heroin problem.
So I think like that to me, like imagine if he was sober. Imagine how genius. Like I don't know if you're a Mitch Hedberg fan, but imagine
big time.
Yeah, but imagine
But
how.
I hate to say it, but from what I hear, I never did heroin.
Right.
But heroin makes you creative.
Does it?
And he's a very creative, witty, clever guy.
Wow.
And I wonder if it helped him. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But I wonder. Look at the greatest songwriters.
Right.
Let's start with Nirvana. Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
He was a big time heroin addict. Could he have come up with grunge without it? And I'm not sitting here advocating heroin. You know what I mean?
By the way, stay sober, but do heroin.
Obviously, it's better. It's not worth it. But it does make you creative, from what I hear. And I could see why, because it makes you unfiltered.
Right.
Sometimes we have a little, filter in our head, like, I shouldn't say that, or I shouldn't do that. Right?
Right.
It just gets rid of, all inhibition, and there's something creative about that when you don't have any inhibitions.
Yeah. Now, when you do comedy with your people that are sober and, the rehab stuff, you said they all connect, you guys all connect with Daryl and Greg Baldwin and all that stuff. So do you guys all have that same goal? To like make people laugh like that, or do you just connect through the waves? Like, how did you meet these people?
I met them through recovery,
right?
And then being comedians. I actually got Greg started in stand up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I got him started. But
so you were his mentor.
I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I definitely was a big influence in his life. You know, as far as comedy goes.
Right.
And then he helped me. He has more time than I do in recovery, so he helped me a lot with recovery.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring my mom tonight, but she's not in her 90 days, so I didn't want her to feel tempted because there's, all these. We're all in the green room with no alcohol or whatever, but like it's a club, there's alcohol everywhere, so she could get it if I turn around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Best she stays away for at least 90 days, if not more.
And you're you're Instagramming while doing a podcast. That's very talented, because I only could do one thing, like make sure this is recording. But no, I did listen. I was driving on the way over here, and I did listen to an interview you did. It was called a Drunk Alcoholics or something. It was. Well,
I've done so many.
I will get this full name, but I remember on the interview you were saying
Drunkalogs.
Drunkalogs, yes. Yeah. I remember in the interview you were saying that you produce your own shows, not just in LA but all over.
Yes.
So like what gave you that idea?
Well, I just wanted to take it further than Los Angeles, you know what I mean? And then I just started doing all the improvs at Levity Lives. So I was fortunate enough to just get in with them.
Yeah.
And then, I was taking the Shindig show pretty much all over the West Coast, a little bit on the South a little bit.
Now, do you have an email list? Like when you go to Florida or whatever, you just send it and then they say, "Oh, you're there." Or
Not in Florida, but
I was just giving an example.
California for sure.
Right.
You know, just the emails that I've built up over time, being at the Comedy Store mostly. You know,
But see, don't you think
thousands of people?
Don't you think that's fascinating how this show starts at the Comedy Store and then, you said yourself, you've gone to all these other clubs. Like, I think that shows what kind of work ethic you have.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome because I'm, like, when clubs give me a night, I'll promote the best I can. But, dude, I've done shows where there's nobody in the audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I don't get a lot of work, I guess, because, like, I'm not the best. You know what I mean? So, like, what are your advices, like, for people like that? You know what I mean?
Well, first of all, again, play to your strengths. You know what I mean? If you're not a promoter, then don't promote.
Right.
These days, I think you got to do more than just do comedy to make a good living. You know, and for me, it's producing and comedy.
And then the
for
cum
other people,
rags.
the cum rags is a very lucrative addition to the income. And but whatever your thing is, yours is podcasting, right?
Yeah.
So whatever your thing is, make sure you leverage your strengths and don't worry about your weaknesses so much. You know.
One of the things that I really do enjoy about podcasting is because everyone I interview, I feel like they could teach me something.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like, everyone says Chappelle is the best comic of all time, right? I feel like let's stop talking about Chappelle and let's be the best comic. You know what I mean? Like, so in my case, I want to be the best comic. In your case, you want to be the best comic. I feel the only way to get that is interviewing people who are stronger at you, sometimes even weaker at you, and you could learn things.
Yeah.
That's just my philosophy.
For sure.
I'm very crazy, huh?
No, that's exactly why I do it too.
Yeah.
You want to meet people and learn.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is, interview them and ask the questions you want to know about.
Yeah. So, of all the podcast interviews you do, was this one worth it for a last second break?
No, this was great. You're actually a great interviewer.
Oh, really?
You're better than I thought you would be.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. I was like, okay, if I could get him to punch me in the face in 5 minutes.
No, this was a good interview.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, no, we had good little balance of humor and information and inspiration. And it's got everything you want for a good podcast.
Next time we'll do it at a studio with the co-host.
Yeah, I'd like that.
And it's more riveting because he's laughing at my lame jokes, and then you'll feel like I gotta laugh because this guy laughs crazy, and I just don't want him to laugh anymore. So I always close the show on one question, and it's a question that if you've never experienced with this, that's fine, but you could just like talk about if it's ever like you'll get it. Have you ever met John Cusack?
No. I would love to, though.
You would love to.
Yeah. My cousin met him.
Oh.
And he hit on her. She's cute. So
really?
he hit on her on a plane.
Oh, nice. Tell us that story.
I don't know the exact story, but I remember my cousin going, I met John Cusack, and he was like hitting on me on a plane. I go, that seems like what John Cusack would do.
Yeah.
Right?
Did he say anything?
Nice.
I have a huge John Cusack obsession.
Yeah.
Like it's I think he's the greatest actor and artist, and I also think he's a philosopher, and I also think he's one of those guys who could do stand-up comedy if he wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, he could do anything.
You know what I mean?
He's got such a wide range of work.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's in like funny stuff, rom-coms, dramas. Did you see him in is it not Instinct, but what's the murder?
Identity.
Identity.
one of the best movies ever.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
He's great in that.
So, I'll tell you this. I opened up for Jeremy Piven once, and I didn't really...
I work with him a lot, too.
Yeah, and he's a great guy. But, like, when you're hosting a show, you can't... Because I have an hour of material, That's all I have. It's probably only a good 55 minutes. But when you're hosting a show, you usually only do 10 minutes. So, like, it's hard to do certain jokes. That's not the point. The point is, I opened up for Jeremy Piven, and I did my John Cusack jokes. And I was like, oh, I'm the John Cusack account, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, I'm working with Jeremy Piven, and that's serendipity. Like, that, after 5 minutes, that was a joke. And then after a show, he just comes up to me, he's like, I was really offended by that joke. I was like, you're the one who did the fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Turns out they had a huge falling out. But I feel like, why would you be offended by something you've done?
Yeah. Apparently he's very sensitive.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like if I ever interview him and I ask him that question, it's going to be a punch in the face. All right, Jimmy, where can the folks at home follow you and buy a cum rag?
You can, on my website, it's jimmyshindig.com, and then you
Explain
can follow
what the cum
me.
rag is.
The cum rag, I don't know, someone said that I should make some merch, and I was thinking of creative, things that match some of my jokes.
Yeah.
And I do a few jokes about cum rags. And so I was like, what would be better than Walk of Shame cum rags? And I got to tell you, they've been my best seller. They sell better than my t-shirts.
Yeah.
And it keeps on coming.
All right, where can the folks follow you?
I am Jimmy Shin on Twitter and Instagram.
All right. Thanks so much, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
All right, it was fun talking to you, man.
All right, buddy.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.